Welcome to the Composing Hour. This is an overview of everything that you can expect. I want to go over the studio with you and let you know how this course is actually functioning. So we're going to talk about the website structure. I'm going to talk about the course goals a little bit. I want to talk about your discussion boards. This is where you're going to be able to connect with me if you need some additional help or if you have any questions about any of the assignments. Remember, you are not here alone. I am here Monday through Thursday typically to answer questions as they arise, and I try and provide feedback within 24 to 48 hours. Often it's much faster when I can. And I want to talk a little bit about how to work through your assignments. All of your training is available over on UreMusic.net. That is the domain that's kind of the short URL to get you there quickly. If for whatever reason that URL does not work, you can go to Instructor.com and log in under the free Canvas account option as a student. So when you first come into the studio, you're going to see a link to Enroll. So that's the link that's going to take you over to the Instructor website, where you simply put in some basic information, email and name, and then you're enrolled in the course. And you'll be able to start looking at your assignments and all the training videos once you get in there. So it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot for you to actually do, but I want you to get over there today. You could even stop the video right now and just go enroll so that you can see everything that's in the course. You can start to get used to the course layout. One of the things I want to talk about in this course is this need to think about working differently. You are taking this course because for whatever reason, what you've been doing hasn't been working for you. And so in order to see results, I recommend that you just approach these assignments with a very casual attitude and just complete the assignments and judge at the end of the course whether or not it was actually effective. For this course to work, you really do need to practice daily. Now, when I say daily, it doesn't have to be every single day of the week, but I'd recommend a minimum of 4 days. 5 would be perfect. 6 would be even better. 7 might be a little bit too much. I do think that you should take a day off occasionally from the ideation and the composing, because you want to have that day where your brain can just sit and process things. You want to have a day where you get away from the music so you don't get burnt out. And only you can judge how much time you're capable of spending per day. But I do want you to think very carefully about how many days a week will be optimal for you. If you feel like you're going to get burnt out, then just stick to 4 days a week, because it's more important that whatever schedule you use, it's going to be consistent. And we'll talk more about creating your schedule in another one of these training videos. So this course may have you do things that force you to work outside your comfort zone. I see this over and over again. A student starts an exercise. They tell me it's difficult. They don't believe they're ever going to be able to do it. I tell them to keep working at it. They keep working at it. They say, it's so difficult. I can't do this. This is not something I can do. And then usually around day 4 or 5, sometimes depending on the assignment, the second or third week, all of a sudden they come to me and they say, okay, I'm hearing it now. They're able to do the exercise. The trick here is these exercises are simple. They don't take a lot of time, but they are going to challenge you. If you find that they're not challenging you, you just need to trust the process. There is still something happening underneath everything that you can see, everything that you can hear. There's still a change in the structure of the way that you hear things and the way that you approach your compositions. There will be a change. At the end of this 6-month course, you're going to feel differently and you're going to behave differently, and your musical skills will increase. It's just going to happen. It's what I see with students who I've worked with privately. When they really approach these things with the right attitude, they do see results. But if you are not approaching this at least 4 times a week, I'm going to talk more about the schedule in a later exercise, but at least 4 times a week, 1 hour for audiation on each of those 4 days, and then at least 20 to 30 minutes of composition on those days, then you're not going to get the results. You're not going to improve. So it's really important that you do go through this course and just put this thought that you can't do something to the side. It's going to come up. Just ignore it. Just approach the assignments. If you have questions about the assignments, reach out to me. I will help clarify them. And that could be by providing you with a video. It could be by doing a short Zoom call to help you with this. I'm here to support you. So just know that, these assignments are not out of your reach and you can do it. Also, just approach your assignments with an open and curious mind. If you come across an assignment and you think, oh, it's incredibly easy, what you need to understand is that they're not supposed to be difficult. The assignments in here are supposed to retrain your brain to be a composer that can audiate music clearly and to be able to extract the audio from whatever you're hearing. There's really two parts to that. The first part is the ability to simply audiate. Some of you may already have that. The second part of it is actually being able to separate those independent lines inside your mind and put them on paper. So you really have to approach this course in two ways. And what these exercises do is they start very simply and they build very strong pathways in the brain where you become better at actually understanding what's going on internally when you listen to music. This is extremely important. You have to be able to follow these simple assignments without thinking, oh, they're too easy, this is basic. Because what happens a lot of time, this happens with students quite often, is they'll come in and say, oh, this is easy, I can do this. Yeah, I know you can do it, but are you doing it with the right process? There are often multiple ways to achieve a goal. You can, for example, with my sight singing students in the university, you can learn to sing a melody by rote. You can memorize the solfege, and that will produce the same result as somebody who is sitting there and working out each individual interval on the spot. Somebody who is audiating, somebody who's not trying to memorize, somebody who's trying to hear, okay, this is in B flat major. I have a B flat going to C. That's a major second. A major second sounds like this. I'm going to sing a major second. Here's my tonal center. I'm going to keep that in my mind. There's a process that can help you achieve results, but you may end up with the same goal, which is to be able to sing the exercise, as somebody who just plays on the piano and memorizes it. The person who goes through the correct process gets a better result. The person who, I'm going to be bold here and say cheats and just goes to the piano and learns it by rote is getting a small benefit. There's still a benefit, but it's small. And so it's very important that you understand the process for these exercises and you don't just achieve a result. So if I ask you to audiate a melody and I ask you to do it in a particular way, it's important that you do it using the process I recommend, because most of us can sit here, if we hear a melody, we can then audiate it. It's a different experience to create your own melody and audiate it. And it's a different experience to approach these exercises in the way that I explain. And so just approach these assignments with an open and curious mind, and make sure that when you are trying to audiate or complete these exercises, you're fully understanding the instructions. If anything's ever unclear, talk to me so that I can make sure you are on the right track, because the process matters more than the result. Okay? Just keep that in mind. I would also recommend that for this course, I'm not going to ask you to do anything crazy. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that should violate any sensibilities or should upset you in any way. But I will ask you to do things that will frustrate you. And so what I'm asking is for you, if you take this course seriously, to push yourself to move more quickly from doubt to action. we all have this process where when we're confronted with something new, we're like, oh, okay, maybe I'll do it. And then you think about it some more, and a day later, you're like, oh, I mean, what's the harm in trying? And then maybe on day 3, you finally decide, you know what? I'm just going to try it. And then you either have a positive result, a negative result, or maybe a neutral result. You don't really care either way. You're not really sure what the result was. I'm going to ask you to move past that doubt stage and move right into the action. Whatever exercise I give you, don't worry about whether or not it's going to work. Don't worry about whether or not it's going to be effective. Everything I'm doing in here is based on real live practice. And I'm talking over the last 20 years. I have been developing these exercises. And I have simplified them. And I have refined them. And I've gotten to the core of what these exercises can actually do for a person. And my students who have started working on these exercises are seeing the results that they want. So don't waste time on the doubt stage. Don't waste time on thinking, this is too easy for me, this is below me. You might experience that. It's a common thing for composers because we do have these strong opinions about what our music should sound like. And so we also tend to have strong opinions about what will work and what won't. So I'm encouraging you to push past that and just act. Just complete the exercises as prescribed. Okay? The other thing is you want to adopt this attitude that you can do something. If you have a negative attitude about it, if you think you can't do it, chances are you're probably right. But if you think you can do something, then you will be able to do it. Countless professionals and people at the top of their career talk about this. They say that if you can imagine something, you can do it. But you have to really, truly believe that you can do it. So your goals in the course, whether it's to increase your ability to audiate or to increase your ability to extract what you're audiating, these are things within your reach for most people. And you have to adopt this attitude that you can do something. If you can audiate one of your favorite songs, if you can, after hearing it, or maybe not without hearing it at all, if you can play it back in your mind and you can hear it in pretty good clarity, then you do have the ability to audiate. But I want to make it very clear that replaying a melody or a song in your mind is not the same thing as audiation for what a composer is trying to accomplish. They are different skills. So what is similar though, the link between audiation for a composer and replaying a song in your mind, the link between those two is that if you have that internal ability to hear something, then you can audiate and you can extract what you need from a composition as a composer. So even if you can just sing a single melody like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in your mind, and you can maybe even change the instruments a little bit, then you have the ability to do this. So just be very confident that you know you will succeed, and you will. Be motivated to succeed in this course. Another thing that you should do is you want to limit your activities to just a few things. And this is something that a lot of musicians have trouble with, especially if you're deep in your career. So there's a few ways you can limit your activities. One is that you actually just limit your activities. You only work on this course and it consumes your day. That's kind of intense and it's not required. But if you want to do that and you have the time, go for it. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to find a time each day and you give yourself an hour to 2 hours. I recommend closer to 2, about 4 times a week minimum. And you try and condense everything in this program into those 2 hours, and you don't do anything else. You have a 2-hour concentrated window where you work effectively and you work precisely and efficiently at completing all the exercises that I prescribe you. And with any free time, you compose. If you do that and you don't interject reading, or you don't interject drinking coffee or doing something else during these 2 hours, then you are really focusing on something. You're putting a lot of intention into it, and you will have greater success than somebody that does one exercise in the morning, another exercise in the afternoon, and another exercise at night. I mean, I do recommend that for certain exercises that only take a few minutes, but that's to achieve a particular goal as well. In general, what I want you to do is to have this 2-hour concentrated period where you get everything done. So if you think that you can do 2 hours 4 times a week, then you should be able to succeed with this course. If you can't do 2 hours and you need to break it up into 1 hour, then you can do that too. So I talk more about this in the schedule, but basically there's an audiation component and an ear training component a little bit, and then there's a composing component. So you can break those into 2 different sections. That would be perfectly fine. But try and focus and try not to do a lot of other competing programs. So if you're doing this program, try not to do any other theory work right now. It's just 6 months. Put it aside for a while. Try not to do counterpoint. Try not to do anything else. You want your brain to focus on this. You want your brain to know that, hey, this is what's important. This is what I need. This is what I need to get better at. And if you do that, you'll see better results than if you have a lot of extra activities going on. So we'll talk more about that when we get into the assignment where you work out your schedule for the week. So your course goals. Number 1, we're trying to develop composition technique. That's a very important goal. A second sort of secondary goal is a concert. So at the end of this course, for those that complete it, you're going to have a concert. And so we'll take a piece that you've either composed as a process that I teach you in the series, where we go step by step and we actually end up creating a sonata form style piece, or you decide, well, but that's not really the music I want to put out there, but you have another piece you'd like to put out there. So if you complete the course and your piece gets approved, it's going on a concert that I'm going to start having at fairly regular intervals, a couple times a year, and it's going to be on my YouTube channel. So that's something to kind of help you a little bit, just get your name out. And you can think of it as sort of your capstone project. It's a final thing that you do in this course to kind of show that, hey, I took this course, I completed the material, this is what I became in the end. This is what I produced. So for the composition technique, again, just push through the training. Just keep moving through the training. And I want you to keep going to the next week, even if you're not ready. So each session should last about a week. We're not looking for perfection. We're not looking for you to be able to do all these exercises the way that you might perform. Typically, composers, performers, we don't want to move on from an exercise until it's perfect. But these exercises are designed to continually reinforce what you did in the previous week. And so because of that, it's actually better to push yourself to the next lesson in week 1, week 2, week 3, than to stay on one lesson until you get it perfected. When you complete the course, you'll have access to all these training videos. You can go back when you no longer have my guidance, and you can go through and you can try and aim for perfection. But that is not what I want you to do in your first 6 months. We want you to develop as quickly as possible. And so that means constantly changing the stimuli. We need to constantly change the exercises that you are involved in. Okay, so keep going even if you're not ready. Go through this course at the pace of about 1 lesson per week. And if there's a holiday, take that week off. Take some weeks off for the holidays, for the New Year's, for things like that. Definitely take some time off, but more or less go 1 lesson per week. Remember that frustration brings success. When you are frustrated by something, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not bad to be frustrated. Frustration is what allows us to say, hey, there's a problem that needs to be fixed. It makes us uncomfortable. It also increases learning retention. When you're just a little bit frustrated, you're fully engaged because you are frustrated. If everything's calm and easy all the time, then you might not be pushing yourself hard enough in this course. So make sure that you get a little frustrated. That's okay. Frustration is what is going to help you move to the next level. So when you sense the frustration creeping in, just get some support from me. Talk to me. I'll help you through it. But most importantly, my advice is pretty much always going to center around keep going. Keep working on it. What was hard today, what was impossible today, will become a little bit easier tomorrow. Will become a little bit more probable the next day. Okay? You just have to keep going. That's the key here. So again, the concert is going to be a YouTube concert. If you are interested in doing that, I suggest you find a performer now at the beginning of the course so that you can have a live performance. You can do an electronic performance, but there's something about having a live performer that really helps connect your music to the reality of the performance. So when you hear a piece performed by an actual human being who put some thought and time into your piece, it's a completely different experience than when you just have electronic music. And I'm a big fan of electronic music. I think ambient music is great. I think that there are some great options for electronic music. I think the sounds have improved. And I actually plan on releasing electronic recording in the future myself because I think it's a really fun medium. But for this course, we're trying to audiate, and we want to hear what it sounds like with a live performer. So try and think about any ensemble or individual soloists that you might want to perform your piece so that you're ready when the concert actually comes. So let's talk a little bit about the website setup. So you've got your forums and office hours. We are using Instructor for the course, and it has known issues with Safari. A lot of universities use Instructor, and it's an issue there as well. Typically what happens with Safari is sometimes images won't show up, sometimes videos won't play, and you have to refresh your screen. It may or may not solve it. So Safari has some interesting restrictions that block a lot of the content from Instructor. And using this course for about 4 or 5 years now, they haven't really come up with a solution. So I recommend to use Chrome or Firefox for the course. You'll just get a better experience. So this link here will take you to forums. There's a video library and Zoom links. So this will take you to main parts of the course. The Zoom links, we're going to be meeting twice a month on the first and third Friday typically. But when you click on this, you'll be able to see the current schedule. You can also just ask me about the schedule. This link here will take you to all this information. There's also studio forums. There's a general forum where you can just ask anything that is on your mind, music related. And then there's an office hour question forum. So when we meet for the Zoom sessions, it's 1 hour, about once every 2 weeks. I go through here first, and I answer any questions that are in the office hours. And then once we finish that and I get through all the questions in here, I'll talk to you. I'll look at your compositions. We'll go over anything that I think you should be working on, and you get that one-on-one time with me. One of the really nice things about this course is you get a group session. You get to work with other composers who can give you feedback that's not just my feedback. And this is actually historically the way that composition lessons were taught by a lot of composers. Nadia Boulanger is one that comes to mind. And then also Liszt. He would have these group sessions where he would teach a lot of people at once. Now I limit it so that there's time for everybody to get some personal time in each session. But having more voices is always a positive thing when it comes to improving your compositions, and also just asking questions that you might not have thought of on your own. Sometimes a student will ask a question that surprises me, and it's very helpful for the rest of the group. So these office hours are really important. They're an important part of the course. If you can't make them for whatever reason, then you can still post your question in the office hours questions area, and I will respond to it in real time during the office hours. For the general forum, if you post a question that I can't respond to in text, I've been known to record videos to provide a response, to show you and to help you out. I've also been known to completely record an entire session. If a student comes to me and says, I'm a little confused about this, because I'm trying to create these videos to be as comprehensive as possible. These lessons I want to be really effective. And so if I don't explain something exactly right, I'll take another try. And students have found that when I do that, it answers their questions and it just makes the videos better. So I'm very happy to do that. So you can post any questions you want in here. If you miss an office hours or you just want to review the past ones, there's a link to access the past office hours sessions. So this is one section in the website. Once you actually get in, that you'll see. Another section is resources. So I have a list of recommended books. There's a chord progression sheet that shows you the resolutions for the most common chord progressions. There's several in there. It's over 100 measures of chord progressions, and we go through it step by step in the course. And what we do is we actually audiate them in a very particular way. So you'll see how that works. I have these audio files that allow you to just sit and absorb the sounds of these chord progressions. And it's not so that you will use these chord progressions in your music. There's a process involved. And remember, it's not simply, you can't simply go listen to a chord progression and then be able to audiate. There's a particular process that I use, which I'll introduce when we get there, that shows you how to approach these chord progressions and how to actually hear the individual voices and to get better at that. So these, from my standpoint, I'd rather give you something that's based on a theoretical concept than something that's completely made up. And so we use traditional chord progressions to train our ear to audiate more effectively. There's also some staff paper if you need it. I'm including volume 1, the most recent version of my Elements in Music Composition and my Music Composition Technique Builder book. We may use exercises from here, but you won't actually need the books. What I do is I just copy the information that I need directly into the studio. And I will say that there is at least one exercise from here, and it's completely modified from what's in the book because we are trying to approach this from a different way. I didn't want to simply rehash my Technique Builder book. That's available. You can still go through it, but this is going to be a different kind of course that's going to really focus on a progressive technique where you continually get better each week. There's also the mirror exercises and audio for that. So the mirror exercises are available on YouTube. You can listen to them, but we also use these in a different way to try and audiate music. It's not really an ear training course. It's an audiation course. So one of the things about ear training that students often ask me is, do I need a good ear? And the answer is no, not if you're a composer. Yeah, a good ear will help you notate more quickly. You'll be able to hear, oh, that's a minor 6, that's a major 3rd, this is a dominant 7 chord. Oh, this is a new chord. It's got, it's stacked in seconds, but then it's got some thirds on the top. I don't know what chord that is, but I can hear it. This is what this course teaches. It teaches you how to extract. And so as long as you can extract the ideas, it doesn't matter how long it takes to do that. So if you have to go to the piano and use a hunt and peck technique because your ear isn't quite there, you can't hear intervals and chords, that's not a problem. It'll just take you longer. But you'll also get better at ear training simply by doing that. So I don't see a real need for ear training, but if you do want ear training, there's always a flawless ear training course that does teach a somewhat traditional and somewhat novel form of ear training. So this is actually your first lesson. This is kind of how your lessons are set up. So you're going to have a section that says onboarding, start here. This is where you are right now. So you click on this, start here, onboarding training. This has a complete list of everything you need to be doing for the week. It's got this video, and it has other videos that help with your schedule assignment and your composition assignment, and then it has support forums. So if you have any questions about any of these assignments or anything in the training video, this one right here, you'll go into onboarding questions. If you have a question about the schedule, there's a forum for that, and the first 8 measures, there's a forum for that. I'm creating these individual forums because when you post a question, it will stay there, and my response will also be there, and this will allow future students to go back and see what kinds of questions came up and to find possible solutions. And I can also answer your question again, so just, this is kind of the outline of everything you're going to do. Every week you should start a new one of these. You'll need to submit the 2 assignments. You don't have to have them graded, but you'll need to submit the schedule and the composition, the first 8 measures, for the ability to go on to the next week. So if you find that you can't go on to the next week, it's because you haven't submitted the assignments for the week yet. Okay? And, this is a really fun course. This is a course that people really find helps them develop their skills. And I really love teaching it. And I've had a lot of fun creating the exercises in this course. And I hope that you enjoy the course as well. And just remember that I am here to support you throughout the entire course if you need any extra help. If all of this sounds good to you and you are interested in taking this course, the next step would be to go to my website, UreMusic.com, and book a consultation with me, because I don't want to admit just anybody into the course. I want to make sure that this course will actually help you, and that requires a conversation. So I'm willing to spend the time to talk with you to make sure that you're not wasting your time or your money by investing in this course. This is a course that teaches you what would normally take me 2 years in private lessons to teach in a condensed 6-month period. There is some flexibility built into it. So if you have trouble completing it in 6 months, you just have to talk to me and we can extend it up to 8 months in most cases. And there are also options to continue the course after. I'll also say that once you finish the course, you still have access to all the training videos so you can continue to study on your own. But at a certain point, unless you get kind of like an extension, you do lose access to support from me. Although I can still help you with technical issues and things of that nature. So if this is something that you're interested in, just book a consultation. We'll talk about where you are currently, where you feel you'd like to go, and I will try and determine if my course can help fill that gap, because that's really what this is. It's trying to decide if this course is actually going to help you. I don't want to take you on if I feel that there's better options for you. So we can talk about that, and I'd love to meet with you, hear about what you've been doing, and talk about some goals and see if we can build a plan for success for your career as a composer.